That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
They always say
Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. You can set it right here, Bruce, or up on the counter, wherever you'd like. You know, I do try to bring the politicians, for lack of a better word, into, you know, meet with their constituents, you know, throughout the year. So we're happy that you showed up. We've got a couple more people coming, you know, down the road. And I talked to Bruce's office in advance, so I gave him 3 things I wanted him to cover. And then after that, if we get to some questions, we'll go around the room. And if your question didn't get answered, we will collect your cards and they'll go back to his office and he will see that they get answered. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the 3 things that I talked to the office about, I wanted him to talk to us about the financial state of our city because it's not very good. And we have a lot of our own thoughts about how we got where we are. And without being incredibly negative, it's taken a long time, and Bruce was part of how we got to where we are when he was on the city council. So we now want to see what we're going to do to try to turn that around. So it's not pointing fingers directly at you, but it's part of the whole picture. The second thing I asked him to talk to us about is personal safety with regard to senior citizens and the homeless, and what is the city doing to help address that part of the homelessness issue. And the third one, I would like to know how he sees this city 1 year from now. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
It's on you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll, first of all, thanks for coming out this afternoon to see me and have a discussion. That means something very simple. That means you still care about the city, you care about your community, you care about yourself, but you care about where we're heading as a great city. And I thank you for that. You're still politically vested. So let's see, where should I start? I'll start by saying that when I had come here several years ago and asked for your support, I want to thank you for those that did support me. I have many friends here, not just my fishing buddy Curtis here, but I know you had, you lost a friend named Anthony Russell there. Some of you might have known. We had gone to high school and he was, as only Anthony would do, he was really asking me some tough questions. And my aunt June Lombard is no longer here. She's had some health challenges. And so I'm always like coming back to see you all. Now, when I got elected, here's the hand that I was dealt. And those that know me personally, I don't whine, I don't complain, not built that way. Life has not been easy or fair to me. I think many of you know my mother as a Japanese woman was interned in a concentration camp when she was a young girl. My dad, who was a black man, came here from Louisiana, suffered incredible discrimination. They got married. They met when they were 14 and got married. They went to Garfield High School and they said they're going to make a Hawaiian baby, is what they said they're going to do. And then out came I. But they told me, they said, you know, life, being a little biracial kid, is not going to be easy, but you have to really, really work hard and you have to build friendships. And so as mayor, that's what I've really tried to do. My politics are very, very simple. I will answer any question you have. I have a North Star. I'm a man of faith. I'm not perfect, far from perfect, but I'm not a liar. And I'm not going to lie to you and say this or that. That's just, I'm not built that way. So when I got elected, the first thing I had was 950 officers quit before I even took office. I was down from 1,424 officers. I misspoke. I was down to 954. I had 300 officers quit. About 1/5 of my force quit. which means I only had 950 plus deployable officers for a city that's almost 800,000. That is totally unacceptable. Right now, we have about 4,000 applications a year. In 2000, and I think it was 2000, I have my notes somewhere, I think it was 2021, we had 700. So in other words, this year, for example, in April, we had 60 new hires. That's 6 times more than we had a year before. So we're heading in the right direction. And I went to each, just like this, I went to each police precinct. 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning, 11 p.m. And I said, look, I want everyone to be safe. I need my officers to be safe. I don't care how you identify, what color you are, you're poor, rich, in between, everyone needs to be safe. But at the same time, I created what's called a care department, which is a non-badge response, non-gun response, because a lot of people you see in the city are sick. They're killing themselves. They look threatening, and they could be threatening, but they're drugged out. Some have mental illness. And so I created from scratch a care department. And so that allows those officers, many of whom have a background in social work, to go out and help someone. So I don't have my police officers trying to do that. The fact of the matter is our homicides are down 27.5%. Crimes across the board are down 18%. Violent crimes are down 12%. The fact is we're doing the best we could given the hand that we're dealt. And I could talk about education, climate change, environmental sustainability, economic development, or jobs. And I'm going to close before I answer some of your questions is this. The reason why the city's having a tough time right now financially, I have about an $8 billion budget. I have 14,000 employees. We have a $240 million deficit, 240 million in a red. And I was on the city council. I was the 4th person in our history to be elected president twice. And it wasn't because we made bad decisions. The fact is businesses were thriving here. Amazon, Microsoft, Starbucks, Alaska Airlines, Costco. The economy was really strong. And we remember how the city gets their money through taxes, B&O taxes, sales taxes, fees, business permits. That's levies. All this is money is what goes to the city to create that $8 billion revenue. We didn't hit the lottery. So now what's happening? You've been downtown. You see all of those businesses boarded up. That's where the money has gone. Businesses are relocating. When I took office, there was just tents everywhere. You couldn't use a park. You couldn't do everything. And the businesses were leaving town. And so when we looked at what we had to do, we said we had to rebuild the business community. And at the same time, the fact of the matter is these billionaires right now are very, very close to Trump. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something that you guys said to me, because I'm on Trump's hit list. And I'm going to tell you something. Someone asked me this when I was running. He says, well, why do you support Trump? And I said, wait a minute now. No, so it was here at this facility because I had opponents. There was 15 people running. Someone that supported Trump had donated to my campaign. I didn't even know who this person was. And what's happening right now, and you've read the newspapers the last couple of days, is what's happening on Trump. Not only is he a threat to everything we stand for in this country, but there's chaos everywhere. And he's empowered people to say some of the most bigoted, mean-spirited things, some of them even in the name of a religion or something. And right now, it's awful. And under the Biden-Harris administration, while they were far from perfect, the fact of the matter is I was probably in the best standing with them. I was the only mayor in the country appointed to the Artificial Intelligence Safety and Security Board. I was the only mayor that Pete Buttigieg asked to go to Japan with him on the G7 conference, which was the international conference representing the country. I was the only mayor that met the 5 mayors of Ukraine with Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State in Denver, for strategies on how the Americans could help. I had cabinet members that we became very close, and it certainly wasn't because I'm good looking. It was because here in Seattle, they know how smart we are here. They know that there's a reason why all these great companies are here. We read here, we like this. Look, where we engage with our politicians. I think the answers in this country are found right here in Seattle, and they recognize this. And when I got elected 3.5 years ago, again, thanks to your help, I told President Biden that. I told Kamala Harris that. I said, look, there's a little biracial kid in 150 years, the only second person of color get elected in this city. I said, these folks got past this. He said, they're going to go over this guy. And so I believe as we continue to fight Trump and his policies, when he's got these billionaires right next to him, like I'm next to Curtis right there, he's got them whispering in his ear, we do this. They don't care about your privacy. They don't care anything about that. So this is a scary proposition that we're living in through. And so as I run for reelection, I'm going to tell you, I'm a litigator at heart. I'm a lawyer too. And I will fight for our values here, because what you see is happening in this country the damage could be irreversible unless we have the right leadership in place. Yes. The right leadership in place. And so he's not going to take us back to whatever his vision is. But the stakes have just gotten really, really high. And I would love to have been the mayor going into a second term with a better president. But it's the hand we're dealt, and we're going to fight this together. So.
Okay, let's go to number 2, which
I was trying to get them all into one, but go ahead.
well, that's a little bit hard because the homeless issue and security for the entire city is certainly paramount, but many of us know what happened with the state budget and money completely being wiped off the board to deal with that issue. So what is the city doing, I guess, in makeup for that loss, plus what they should be doing also? We have major problems right here in River City, which you hopefully will take a look at when you leave the property.
The homelessness issue? So I hear 2 questions though. One is the homelessness problem, and the other one is affordable housing as well. Okay. So let me start with affordable housing first, because it's going to lead into the homelessness issue. Here's what has happened within our lifetime. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's no one's fault. What's happened in our lifetime, Seattle has become one of the richest cities in this country. Our median income now is like 6 figures, like $100,000. It's the median income here. So the houses, like the house that my mom and dad grew up in that was $6,000 to $8,000 is $1 million house now. Which now says that a teacher or a cook or a retired service veteran, a social worker, they can't live in the city that we love so much because the wages have not kept up with the cost. That's just the reality of it. Now, what can we do about that? Everything possible. And the problem is, I put on the ballot that passed one of the largest housing levies. People hated paying the taxes. I said, that's the only way I could do. Number one, I need money. So we passed a $970 million levy that I proposed, and it passed. The voters passed it. The second thing is I put $343 million in our budget for affordable housing. That's by far the most any mayor's ever done. $343 million, unprecedented. And then in what's called the comp plan, as I looked at Seattle, we have to build more housing. We just have to build it. So I took a comp plan on a very granular level. We have 84 square miles, and I looked where we need to expand for growth. For example, on Aurora, we have all those crappy motels and a lot of bad activity. We call it the Northern Lights Project. And we said we're going to build open space for parks, have a good quality of life, and we're going to be really aggressive on the housing. I looked at downtown. For example, some of those places I grew up around, like Woolworth or some of those cool stores. The new downtown now, because everyone's buying stuff online, has got to change. So now I changed the zoning to allow people to go a little higher for people to live downtown. We have about $110,000. So to affect the housing thing is we're trying to do everything humanly possible to get the cost down. Now let's talk about the homelessness issue. The fact of the matter is these people that are homeless right now, I've said this publicly, this is what I believe. The homelessness issue is also a health crisis. It's a health crisis. Hopefully, many of you still have people in your life that love you. So some don't. At least someone that if you fall, is someone even in here may help you and pick you up. You have a community here. Hopefully, most of you know each other's names. A community. lot of them have lost their way. They have no brothers and sisters, no moms and dads, no kids. They've burned every bridge. And it's almost a subclass of people. And so what we're trying to do, number one, is I said, I can't do it alone. So we created this regional homelessness authority. Here's the problem with that. It's a $200 million organization. The city of Seattle puts in 120 million, 120. Of the county puts in 80. That's 200 million. Renton, Federal Way, Auburn, Bellevue, Shoreline. I could go all the other in the county, because we said, I don't care. It's got to be a county strategy. They put in $0. Zero. They want part of the pie. For example, tiny homes, they cost only about $5,000 to make. I'd rather have someone live in a tiny home that has heat and air conditioning, and they have access to, some of them have bathrooms in them, some of them don't, but they have services for people. It's temporary. It's not meant to be permanent. It could be 6 months or 1 year till they get on it. That's better than a tent on a sidewalk. That is my decision. So we got criticized for not, there are like thousands of tiny homes that are not being used. Now, let me tell you the state. Let me tell you the fact. 85% of all the tiny homes in the county are in Seattle. 85%, which means that I only have 84 square miles, and I can't squeeze them into all these sites that we're having. And I need the other folks to step up. You might have read in a newspaper out of Lake City, they're one of the tents village. We have 3 sanctioned tents, because in those tents, which again is not my preference, but it's a tool that this community wants, and they are very polite to one another. They have actually a code of conduct, and they're actually good neighbors in these different. We have 3 of them. So they're lease ended at a church, and they go to churches. They're lease ended, and everyone says, "Well, what's Harrell going to do? What's Harrell going to do?" And I said, "Well, why has it got to be in a city? The last time they were in another city, and we're just supposed to be one." And everyone said it has to be in Seattle. Why does it have to be in Seattle? So right now, as we speak, I'm going to force the Regional Homelessness Authority to be regional. So in 2 weeks, actually, I'm making a motion that all these other jurisdictions accept tiny homes. And I said, I'll even pay for them. I don't know if you know some of the stuff that, like if you go down Mercer Street and you see that yellow, it's like the yellow walls, you see all that graffiti. I finally got the governor to help me. I said, I'd pay for it. I'll pay for it out of our tight budget and clean that graffiti up, because I hate looking at that stuff. It costs us about $8,000, but we clean it up. I say the same thing with these tiny homes, that it's in our best interest that I will pay for the tiny homes, not me personally, by the way, to make that clear. The city will pay for the tiny homes, but I'll put them in Auburn and Kenton Federal Way to get people housed. And so that's the work we're doing right now. But again, I inherited this model. I didn't create this model. I inherited this model from the council when I retired in 2019. All that was put in place. But right now I'm trying to change it.
And third part from you, just you, where do you see Seattle 1 year from now?
Yeah, in 1 year, this is what I hope. Number one, I should have a fully staffed police department. Now, let me tell you what I said. It pained me, literally emotionally made me sad to have to fire a police chief. We couldn't find another mayor that's fired a police chief. And this is the person I actually hired. Adrian Diaz is his name. And, okay. And I knew him when he was, I think it was a sergeant 15, 16 years ago. And it just was a decision I made based on investigative reports. It was just an investigation was done and led me to that decision. But I'll tell you one thing, I got a superstar in this Sean Barnes, who came from Madison, Wisconsin. He holds a PhD in like criminology areas. He's very, very smart. He looked at what he drove crime rates down in Madison, Wisconsin. I've never been to Madison, Wisconsin. Has anyone been to Madison? Oh, so you guys, you know, it's like a mini Seattle. It's the same racial demographics, same kind of, it's a college kind of town, same kind of breakdowns. Huge college town. But he drove the crime rates down. He thought of ways to increase the women percentage in our police department, something we continue to struggle with. He was the one behind a lot of this stuff. So I got a really good leader, and like I said, he is one of the best recruiters as well. He's just a real smart person. So we should be fully staffed, number one. Number two, the care department should be tripled in size, which means that when you, I'm sorry, stands for Community assistance response engagement. What it is we have the police department, the fire department, and the care department. So the care department is that third public safety department, non-gun and badge. They don't carry guns, but they can go out to 911 calls and help people in a crisis situation. And I want that fully staffed, because more times than not, when you hear about a bad shooting, you know, there was no care team there. They're masters at de-escalation. And while we train our officers de-escalation, they still have to go to bank robberies and serious assaults. And so sometimes it's better to have a care person at the scene in certain situations. And that's just modern policing. So to answer your question directly, I see a fully staffed. Remember, we have park rangers, we have community service officers, CSOs, we have care officers now, police officers, first responders, and the fire department. I want everyone to be safe. Now, the other piece of this is affordability is huge in my book, because my mom and dad wouldn't have been able to live in Seattle. They both work for the city of Seattle, the current rate. What I am pushing really hard on is these large corporations making all of this money, extracting money from our society, extracting it. They have to pay back. Amazon is a good example. We just did a groundbreaking last week where they put in, I don't want to say the amount because I just can't remember it, but it was many millions of dollars into a housing project just across the street from Garfield. Okay, that they are. I'm going to see more and more of that. That these companies have to realize they're largely responsible for the affordability problems that we struggle with. You can't just take and take and take. So we've made some tremendous strides there to fight with affordability. So a clean downtown, I could talk about Westlake Mall, Seattle Center, the waterfront, all these great capital projects. You'll see all of that too, but I just want to talk about the public safety and the affordability issues.
Okay, if you want to raise your hand, we'll start in the back of the room if you got hands up. Kathy?
Yes, our police officers historically have been awarded for the type of arrests that they made for what they put on the books. I'm reporting on the Stanford subplot. Are we going to change how we acknowledge our police officers' accomplishments, really such that men of color don't get hit all the time?
So that's a good question. So number one is you should know that I was the one that passed and sponsored and drafted the racial profiling bill known as bias-free policing law, because I want to track who's getting arrested and why. And I created a cause of action. In other words, I created a method by which in our city ordinance, a person could sue if they're a victim of racial profiling. So to answer your question directly, our officers are not compensated or prized on what kinds of stops they made. They're not on a commission basis, none of that kind of stuff. This takes strong leadership. It takes a strong chief looking them in the eyes, the men and women, and saying, your job is to protect everybody. And you have to be smart enough to know when to call in the right kind of help through our care department and other services. So I think if you look at our use of force, unreasonable force, we have one of the best in the country. Best in the country now in terms of unreasonable force. Now, the last couple of days been a little exciting here in Seattle because we've had these different factions and we passed the crowd management tools, the protester tools, the use of pepper spray. And what I tell my officers, look, I said, the aftermath, everyone has a right to protest, a right to free speech. No one has a right to harm another person. So use common sense and good judgment. If you're going to arrest someone, make sure the arrest could stand up. And quite honestly, we're doing a darn good job there. You're not reading in the newspapers about unlawful shootings, they're human, they're going to make mistakes. Who answered the question? Who asked the question? Oh, you said, I keep looking, I thought you were right there. And I said, well, she asked a question, she left her chair there. So now I also have to give them a little grace. And what I mean by that is they're human beings. They have their own biases. They have their own life experiences. So I try to coach them up and love them up. That's why I spend time in their precincts talking to different officers. But our statistics look really good in terms of how we're doing our job.
Billy, I would call
Follow up.
I want to go back to the homeless situation. I recently read that there was a sanctioned homeless camp that was forced to move after it had been wherever it was for 6 months. And then right after it was told it had to move, the place it was going to move got jerked. So I want to know this. Why are you forcing these people to expend the energy to move every 6 months? It seems like it would be more cost effective to find them a place where they can be a sanctioned homeless camp, such as the one we have down the street here at Camp Second Chance. Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you the facts first, so we're real clear. So they live in tents, number one. So they live in tents and they stay for 1 year, not 6 months, 1 year. Okay, it's okay, it's okay. I mean, there's people could write, I'm just gonna give you the facts. I know these facts inside and out. So they stayed at a church, I think it was called the Mennonite Church. It was private property, and they sign a lease and they say, we're gonna stay for 12 months, 12 months. And on 12 months, we move out. So, and they're in camps and there's 104 people living in there and 17 children living in there, okay? So I found out about, so the Regional Homeless Authority, I just serve on the board there. I don't run it. I'm just one of the board members. I actually chair the board. They didn't bring it to my attention or my staff's attention. So I'd say maybe a couple of weeks before the lease ran out. There's another property 3 blocks away. It's called the Lake City Community Center, which is, we have a budget already fixed. That's going to be a beautiful place, but it's vacant now because it was burned down and the permit process. So just sitting there, just sitting there. So this group, before they were in Seattle, they were in Issaquah, I think they were in Bellevue, and they stayed for 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. When I found out that they had to move, the first thing I did is call the pastor of the church. I said, please let them stay there while we figure this out. I will pay you to let them stay. By the way, that church, Mennonite Church, they let them stay there for free. I said, if your insurance goes up, I'll pay. She says, we are unwilling to let them stay there because this group called Tent City 4, I got to give them their props on this. They say their word is bond. They say when they say they're going to be somewhere 12 months, not 12 months in 1 day. That's how they're able to go somewhere. They said their word means everything to them. What I said, I understand that principle, but you got 17 children that I don't want in the hot or in the cold. Please stay there and I'll pay for it. And it will take up to 6 months. We'll find you another place. They were unrefusing. Their position was unreasonable. That's my opinion. They were unreasonable. I give that now. So we put them at the Lake City Community Center, which is property we own. I said between 1 month and 6 months, because they're supposed to go from different areas, and the residents in that area, the people that live there, they said a deal's a deal. You can't just move 3 blocks away and say, you know, you comply with the 1 year. So they have rights too. So that's why we moved them from 3 blocks away for 6 months until we find another place. And that's a decision that I made, and I own it. So, but I don't like moving them every 6 months. But their model is 1 year and then 1 year. That's their model, their chosen model.
We are planning a bus trip up to Red Square in UW on the 14th.
Nice.
And with the events that have been happening although I realize that I understand it's a completely different kind of event because you had those radicals. Can I say that? That was a one item thing. This Red Square is going to be, encompass everything that's going on. Are we going to be safe?
At Red Square?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay.
We work closely with their police department, our police department. We try to make sure. So, no, don't throw water bottles at police. But, yeah.
Hey, good afternoon, Mayor. I am a manager of a major grocery store, and we get rampant shoplifting, absolutely ridiculous. We call the police. Nothing is done. These people are only escorted out of the building if they stay for the police to arrive. There's no repercussion for them. It's the same people week after week. And now for the last few times, the police haven't even shown up. What can we do as a community to stop this? You know, we're all paying for it.
Right,
I don't know what to do.
yeah. Are you at liberty to say what kind of store it is? Like
QFC at Westwood Village. We'll tell you right now.
The reason I asked, is interesting, so I met with folks from Safeway, Target, I don't think QFC is at the table. And quite honestly, I'm not. It's a real tough issue because of insurance reasons, everything inside your building, that's your choice not to arrest and detain. That's the building, they say their insurance is so high. They're not arresting. Sometimes they're detaining, but sometimes they let them go out. I asked them, I looked at the loss numbers of these stores. The loss numbers are crazy high. So I said, wouldn't it just be cheaper to hire, and the frequent flyers, the regular people, I said, wouldn't it be cheaper to just hire a couple of them and pay them $25 an hour or something and have them parade around the store? Yes, I know it's crazy. I said, to help them. And then we have a lot of programs for people trying to change their life, right? People trying to change their life, realizing there's another path that's going to lead to jail sooner or later. And so we're floating ideas. The fact is, the matter is that our police officers, because I'm still down, I don't even have 1,000 yet. We're heading in the right direction. That's not a priority one call. A priority one call is someone's being assaulted, and we just don't have the person power to apply. So I'm working with store owners on what we can do in partnership. Go ahead.
A lot of cities like have substations, all areas. Is there any way we could?
Yeah.
They have substations in other mall areas. Is there any way we could pursue that? Because I think police presence would be better than no police presence at all.
Actually, that's on the drawing table, many substations. I took a delegation to Japan, and they have that, I forget what they call it, but they have these mini stations all over. There are areas downtown Seattle, for example, so that's a possibility. The fact is that Seattle is by far the biggest city in the state, and we don't have some of the flexibility some other small cities do. But shoplifting is a huge issue. It's killing businesses. And so I have a lot of smart people in the think tank trying to think of solutions. Oh, sure.
Well, before you get to that question.
Thank you.
What we're talking about right here. Can we talk a little bit about catch and release? And I'm not talking about catch and release on the spot. I'm talking about you take them down to the city jail, county jail. They don't even book them. They're understaffed. So they don't get booked. Therefore, they don't go into the court. They don't get a date. And the courts are still overloaded. And some of the things that they shut down in the court system during COVID has never changed, which of course is absurd. And it's also, contributing to that. But the catch and release program of not arresting these guys, not booking them, not detaining them in a legal manner is part of why they're able to do what they do, because nobody gives a shit.
So let's have an honest conversation about something. I need to make this crystal clear. Have you seen the people on 12th and Jackson? They're all hanging out.
Yep.
3rd Avenue.
You're all like this.
Yes.
We know.
It's a health crisis.
Yes.
It's a health crisis
We got
now.
that right out here, Garden Right.
Now, let me talk about the health department. The health department is started by the county, 1951, disease outbreak. And they said, because disease doesn't know a boundary, a city boundary, it has to be a regional approach, 1951. It's a $3.5 billion entity run by the county. I pay into it. I pay about 28 million into it as a city. Some cities run their own health departments, like the city of Berkeley run their own health department. I have very little influence on the health department. People ask me as mayor to effectuate a public safety strategy through my police officers, the people that are killing themselves bent over. So when I arrest that person, which quite frankly, I'm not afraid to do because I literally drafted the laws when I could arrest you. And my thing is, I will arrest you if you're stumped over your bill, if you pose a threat to anyone. But if you're out here on a bridge by yourself, we're not going to arrest that person at all because they pose a threat to no one but themselves. So when's the last time you had a person from the county, whether it's an executive or a King County council member, and you said, what are you doing about it? I get blamed for this stuff. That's why I said that I'm not afraid I'll arrest bad people that are committing crimes and committing, assaulting you. I'll do that all day long because I have to protect you. And so what I'm trying to do is sort of implode the health system. If we learn one thing through COVID, we learned one thing, that the monies came right to the cities and we're able to get it out and be very nimble. But the county system, county health is completely ineffective. So what I had to do, because I still wanted to arrest people, I had to start negotiating a deal in Des Moines with the jail system. You may have read about that because I can't control the booking restrictions in the county jail. I have zero control over that. We're a tenant. We borrow space from them and they're saying they won't book. So I went out to Des Moines and started negotiating a deal with them and said, well, I got to transfer people from Seattle I'm arresting and take them way out there. And out there in Des Moines, a lot of them are getting a lot of services because I'm into services. When you're trying to help them get on with their life. And that's how we got the restrictions loosened up because the county didn't want to lose us as a tenant. And I was still prepared to go out and move everything out. So my answer is this. My answer is that I'm working feverishly on trying to implode the health system. I may even take back our money because I think with $30 million, I could effectuate a better health response. I don't slam anyone that was a social worker behind a computer because you have to know what's the best practice. You have to be real smart at this stuff. But I never see a health worker on 12th and Jackson. I never see a health worker on 3rd Avenue. You do see people walk around with WDCs, We Deliver Care. You see I have investments down there. I had one investment from a church community. I did a pilot. Because remember, I said a lot of people that are on 12th and Jackson, they don't have any friends in their life. So I basically had a contract with a church and all their members to simply say to you, here's a cup of coffee. I'm gonna see you here tomorrow. Tell me about yourself. Here's a pair of socks for you too. And I want to tell you, you could, and you may say, get out of me, but I'll take the cup of coffee. And then the person can come back tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and build a friendship with this person. I think that's a humane approach. So I was piloting that. As I said, I got to build social ties for some of these folks. Maybe they got a brother or sister that may take them in their house and they could bend them. So we're going to do everything possible. But I have to tell you, the health system, I get blamed for it, but it's a health crisis that I don't think the county is doing what they should do.
Okay, Curtis and then Rosa. Well, and then I've got two up here and then you.
Bruce, I commend you on what you're doing with our city, man.
Thank you.
But I'm wondering is the things that I'm seeing done in Chinatown, for example, with the group hired to have and run them off and get them out of, just hanging out, the guys hanging out in one area. And I know it's not easy for them. My cousin works for you for that, right? So, but my thinking is the meth epidemic is so strong here in Washington right now that folks are addicted to it, right? And it's causing major issues as far as the homelessness and all that kind of stuff. My question to you is, are you planning on stretching that program that you have in Chinatown throughout the city, maybe in different parts of the problem areas that's going on in our city to clean that stuff up, right?
Yeah. Curtis, that's a really great question. So the short answer is yes. And we call them ambassadors. And these are people that are going to get to know the folks that are hanging out, try to discourage them, but they also have a quick ability to get to the police. I'm going to share something with you that was very scary for me. That I said in a meeting a few weeks ago, and they gave me the intelligence on the fentanyl issue. These fentanyl are just pills and methamphetamines, and they showed me on a screen, we talk about tents. Inside some of these tents were surveillance equipment by the dealers, cash, assault weapons that you take, if you got 40 people with a $10 habit, $10, $15 habit, that's a $500,000 operation up there. People are preying on these sick people. And you're going to read about it. You're going to say, oh, the mayor told me this first. You're going to read about it in the next week, one of the biggest busts probably in our city's history on some of this stuff. And when you see how sophisticated this stuff is, it's coming from California. Don't mean to offend anyone from California here. Who's from California? Raise your hand. Okay, I just offended 5 people. Okay. So, yeah. So these folks are driving stuff up from California, very sophisticated. And we're working with the DEA, the FBI, and our SPD, and you're going to see us trying to get in front of that. But those ambassadors you're talking about, we started as a pilot and it really, really works. And so we're going to try to spread it out throughout the city, Curtis.
My question is, I understand that
I'll repeat the question.
I understand that the city council is considering subsidizing housing for the Seattle Police Department. How is that being done when we face a housing crisis and affordable housing crisis? And we have also homelessness, and we have issues with proper,
I'll repeat the question.
proper police responses and financial recourse to find resources to be able to help us that are low income.
So the question is, she heard that the Seattle City Council are considering subsidizing housing for police officers, paying for a portion of their housing costs. And how does that make sense when, I'm paraphrasing if I may, when it's already too unaffordable for everyone, you have homelessness issues.
Dollars from the housing affordable fund, it is like 80 million to help you with police retention.
Yeah.
How can you justify that kind of transition from one fund to the other?
And how can you, it's the payroll expense tax fund you're talking about. How can we take money from that to pay for like police stuff? Right. Well, I'm
Explain how it was done.
trying to just describe your question, not, so you're saying that we took $80 million from the housing fund for like police stuff, and that doesn't sit right with you. Did I catch it? Okay. And subsidizing housing for police officers doesn't make sense. Okay. So first on the subsidizing for housing for police officers. This is the first I've heard of that. I don't know the city council doing that. Is that something? I'm not aware of that issue.
If you could follow up on that through Marta with me, I'll bring it back to the community at our next meeting, but that's a good question.
Well, but I hope I don't offend you when I say this. You're getting bad information because it would have been approved by me and we have not approved that because. Yeah, you're saying it's being, I pretty much follow their stuff, but I haven't heard about that. So I don't know about the subsidizing of police officers.
Well,
okay, I'll have to get back to you on it. But what I would suggest is, if it were to be considered, it's likely because they want officers, they feel safer when they feel like there's police officers in their neighborhood and they feel part of the community and they go to the ball games and the soccer games. They want to have officer friendlies around them. So that probably be why they consider it. You may disagree with that, but that's probably the thought going there. Same thing with firefighters. They want people to be in the city that they serve, to know the city.
okay, Bruce, we're gonna just take 2 more questions. I've got one down here and then one up at the front, and then we'll do a little wrap up, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to let you know, we have a homeless problem out with the RVs. You got rid of them at one point. They came back. They're still there. It's a drug problem out there, as small as they are on that street right there, which you will see. It's a drug problem. The drug dealers come at night. The homeless from the encampment where the tiny houses are coming up through there, getting their drugs inside where the homeless are right here. And it's part of the city. I know the Salvation Army comes and the truck comes and feeds them. But I'm also in charge from the city as a volunteer for their storm drains. And I see them. I don't know what they're putting in there. I don't know where they piss or crap, but they put it right there in the storm drains. I'm in charge of both sides. I can't even go there and clean anything off from on top of those. But all night long, from the tiny camps, you see the homeless come. You see, we know the different vehicles that they're going into, smoking their crack. We got a big problem out in that parking lot. They're coming in here at night. They're coming into our computer rooms. They're coming in upstairs. They're vandalizing our machines. Yeah, I just want to know if you can
Sure.
have police come by, let them know they're watching. A couple months ago you did. Now we see nothing. We don't see anybody coming through or. Yeah.
So,
We'll bring that up with coffee with a cop on the 16th again about the drive-throughs
yeah, but
with them.
I want to hit this in hard. First of all, when I leave, I'm going to make some calls back to talk about, there was a huge consensus on the problem down there with the RVs. So let me tell you a challenge that we had. I don't know where to put them. That's the problem. So here's a challenge though. Remember what I said earlier. All of my money for what we call a remediation, fixing the vans up, getting them out of the van, getting out of the RVs into good housing. All of my money is going to the Regional Homeless Authority, $120 million. That's a lot of money. The challenge is they always want this stuff to be in Seattle. So, because a lot of folks, I will guarantee you, we find out a lot of those folks are not from Seattle. Okay? So what I'm pushing one of my deputy mayors to do is to find space. So you're going to see, again, on the RHA, some very aggressive motions on RV safe lots, we call them, outside of the city. Because I only have 84 square miles. I'm running out of room. So the reason why we had to stop is we had one RV lot that was out on the north end, and now they're going to build a pickleball court. So that one came. So I'm looking for space right now to move them out. So your message resonates with me, and we're going to work on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on.
There's a lot of bad act. A lot of these
Hang
people
on.
are not homeless. They're drug dealers, and we
Okay.
understand.
She's got a really quick comment, and then Rob, I'm coming right up.
Hi, Mayor.
How am I saying?
Good to see you too. I have kind of a question, but I just want to make it be known. Unfortunately, I have a son who is heavily addicted. He's 51. He's been homeless, does not want to come home. He does not want to take his medicine. He just feels like that high is very important. And the people down there who are homeless with him is his family.
Right.
And that is true. I've gone down there many a times looking for him, and they will not tell me that's his family.
Yeah.
So they protect each other. They go to different places that has food, and they take what they can, as much as they can, to feed their other parts of the family. Now, my question, because I'm scared because the fentanyl stuff is just going crazy. I'm scared for my son and his life. I've tried everything that I could try. I've called everybody that I could call. He's tried shelters, doesn't work because he says they all have bed bugs, which I understand. What do you do? It seems like a horrible cycle that's just going round and round and round.
So unfortunately, what you described, too many families are going through. If I told you how many people have sons or daughters that are on drugs like this, Tax the rich is certainly an answer because these corporations have money to get him to treatment. I also believe, this is my personal belief, I may lose some of you when I say this, I'm a man of faith. And one of the reasons why I tell people I try to invest in other alternatives, is whether it's a 12-step program or a spiritual faith-based program that in addition to the physical, remember, I have my fire department using morphine, Narcan, everything possible to stop the symptoms. But I'm also trying to get people in there to help them out with their spirit, because they need that as well. So I'm bringing in the faith-based community as well, in addition to physical. And we need more resources for them. But the fact is they gotta want to help themselves as well. That's where the spiritual component comes in. So my approach is to tax the rich, yes. Build more facilities, yes. But also bring in people. And there's a lot of people that have come from where your son is. They're the best messengers. Say, I used to be you. So I have right now literally millions of dollars of investments from people that are, it's like we deliver care. These people are from that life that are out there trying to save lives.
Okay, we got one last question up here and then,
Good afternoon, Mayor. I decided to ask you an easier question than the one I really wanted. But, okay, so what are your key performance indicators for the next, I don't know how many more years you have in office? 4 years in office. 3?
So I'm running for reelection.
Okay.
My end, December 31 is my last year, my 4 years.
Okay, so then how have you and how will you measure your success in office?
So I'll use the term KPIs for key performance indicators. KPIs, key performance. So what's the metrics? So my administration actually got nationally awards for our use of metrics on our KPIs. First one will be crime rates. That's one of the first ones. Numbers, you look at businesses, small businesses that can survive. Small businesses, we can't talk about that enough in a world of large corporations. Small business success. I started a program called the Liberty Project, which is a means to make sure that they can get funding. I will talk about, it really depends on what area you really want to talk about. I can talk about climate change. I mean, that may not be of interest to you, but it's of interest to me, saving our planet. So the KPIs in climate change are carbon emissions. Immigration, so we are a welcoming city. I was one that passed the legislation being a human rights city. So the key performance indicators in a welcoming city will continue to be the safety for immigrant and refugees and asylum seekers. How many people are there now? How many people should there be in terms of if they are left alone? How many people are, a bad KPI would be how many people are subjected to ICE raids. And we're doing a lot of work there. I mean, I was the first mayor in the state to pull together all of the immigrant and refugee organizations to make sure people had access. Education, graduation rates. It's critical. Graduation rates are a little, they're okay. It depends on what school you're going to. Generally speaking, in Seattle Public Schools, they're pretty flat. But let me tell you what we're doing. Remember, I don't run the school system, that's state. But another KPI would be the number of kids going into pre-K, brain development from 0 to 4. Astronomically high, going in the right trajectory. It is very, very expensive, but not our program. That's why we started it. The pre-K program run out of city schools. And you're going to see something on the ballot this year to get for childcare access. We're going to increase 3,100 new spots for childcare and about 3,100 for pre-K and 1,500 for childcare. So enrollment and graduation on education. Your question is a good one. I probably have to give it a little more thought. But we try to use, okay, here's a good one for you. Encampment removals. I get criticized for this, but since I've been in office, there's been an 82% decrease in 82% of the encampments are now removed and people in housing. Affordable housing units, permanent supportive housing. We put in over 5,000 PSHs for permanent supportive housing. So how many people we are housing that need the services like her son would need for permanent supportive housing. So I could go on and on about the data we're using. And quite honestly, you're talking to one guy. I have a whole team that sort of does this for me. So I'm just sort of going off the top of my head.
On your tables are democracy vouchers. Does everybody understand what democracy vouchers are in Seattle? Okay, it's a way to publicly fund a campaign, which all campaigns should be publicly funded and we wouldn't have to go through some of the rest of this crap. So you get 4 a year. They should have come in your mailbox. If you didn't get one, you've got them now. You can give all 4 of your vouchers to one person if you'd like. You can give if these 4 people were running for office, you could give 1 voucher to each one of them if you want. I'll get you in a minute, Kathleen. But I said, they're yours to use and they brought some for you today, but please use those democracy vouchers that come with you. A lot of people who live here on fixed incomes, one of the things that we have in conversation is, I can't afford to support anybody. Well, there are many ways to support people, but this is one way that is provided to you, and I encourage you to use it. Kathleen.
I get very, and I hope it's true, you can do them online.
That is true.
That is true. That's new.
I did it this morning.
Yep.
Second thing is that you can only do it once.
Right.
Do them on paper at home, or you do them online, but you can't
Yeah.
do it here.
Yeah, it's a one-shot deal, but you get them before the primary. Are you passing drugs in the room? Oh my God. I know they're fishing flies. Even I knew what they were. Okay.
Get that on camera.
Yeah, we may have.
I hope they work.
That's a fish.
But, we appreciate you coming today and giving us, your constituents some of your time. I hope after the primary is over, it is my intention to bring you back again with whoever your opponent may be and do either a town meeting or a debate. And if you're open to that,
Oh, absolutely.
we'll see you back here again. We've done a number of those over the years and they're usually pretty well attended. So thank you again. If you've got a few minutes and you want to talk to people on your way out, that's good. Please make sure your cards are given to Marta. Marta will take the democracy vouchers also.
Can I close for?
You may close
So,
yourself.
A few things. I want to thank you, first of all, for your attention. It's easier sometimes to speak than it is to listen. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm choosing to run through these democracy vouchers because I was one of the folks that helped sort of pass this. It's a way for everyone to be able to, to give $100 or so without it costing you anything. The fact is when many mayors ago, when Jenny Durkin ran, there were 21 people ran. When I ran the first time, there were 15 people running. There's 8 people running in this election, which is actually the lowest number in 30 years. I said 7 people, my goodness. But I will tell you this, that I need your help. There's a lot of anger out there. My style is not, when I deal with someone like Trump, my style has never been like fighting. I've been with my wife going on 4 decades, and I have 3 children, and I try to 2 grandchildren, and I try to pride myself on being more loving in nature, more kind. But I'm also tenacious, not afraid of anything. I'm a bulldog. And for me personally, I've won actually 4 elections. This is my 5th one. For me, this is the most important and consequential race in my lifetime. You may not agree with everything that I say. I reserve the right to be wrong, and I will listen to you. You could correct me, and maybe I'll take a different path. I come here to understand what matters most to you, and I'm hearing some things I'll take back as I work. But I do ask for your support. As a friend, it means a lot to me. I will continue to lead with a spirit of humility. I'm just human. But thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you very much.
Yes, so it was put on the ballot 10 years ago. It's a $8 taxpayer per house. And the way we're doing it, subsidize it. So we have to have this all in. So what is yeah, so the reason she would buy it is that for the voucher program. You can do them online, but this one you have to do.
Thank you, John, very much.
Because all of it. And then take oh, yes. Is there so as you, we don't have time to go over because of the election. Or all four, or three, or yeah, because so I can they're not like the vouchers that we have it in.